What's going on? Welcome back. Another episode of Dealing with the Devils on Talking Ball here. It's Jack and JD, and we've got a fun one at Army. How many times I've got a lot of good trivia in this one. I'm going to start off with one right away. How many times has Duke played at Army?
Five.
That's a fair guess. This will be the second time.
Wow.
Second time at Army, 10th game overall. The Blue Devils, I won't make you guess this. They're 9-0 in their matchups with Army until tomorrow night.
So at Army, 5 games. So maybe some road games. So maybe it wasn't a bad guess if they played a total of 10 games. Or are you saying they played at Army 10 times?
No, I'm saying they've played Army 9 times. This will be the 10th, but this will be only the second time that it's on the road.
Right. Okay. So I would have thought with Coach K, connections to Army, the number should have been maybe a little higher, but he also has to balance that against what does his team learn by playing someone like Army. So
And I also think probably for Army players to go to Cameron and play a game is probably a more special experience for them than having Duke come to Army. I would think, just so they like most of their games, they're not playing in front of the same number of fans and the same environment. So it's got to be fun for them to go to Army or to go to Cameron rather. But for Duke to head to West Point, I think is going to be a fun experience for the players on this year's team.
I agree. I think it's a toss up that you can make the argument either way. Playing at one of the best schools, Duke, is probably fun for Army, and going to the U.S. Military Academy to play Army on Veterans Day has got to be a special experience too. Coach K's making the trip.
Yes, that's what John Shire was saying. He said he wasn't sure if he'd be watching film on the plane, but he said knowing Coach K probably will be, and he'll give him some insights for sure onto the team. What should be going better now? It's kind of fun. These two teams have some familiarity with each other, having played against each other last year, and there are, by my count, 6 players on each team that were on the rosters last year, which I think in today's college basketball is quite a high number to have 6 players on each team that were part of the game. Now, 2 players, one on each team, did not play in the game. For Duke, that was Gangba, who is still recovering from his injury.
Oh, good one.
And then for Army, it's Diane Polk, who did not play in that game. He started their first game. Ryan Curry was not available. In the second game, Ryan Curry played. Polk only played about 5 minutes. The other guys, though, Caleb Foster had 11 points in that one. Malik Brown had a couple points, but he also did a lot of Malik Brown stuff. Lots of rebounds, steals, blocks. Evans and Harris had 6 points and 5 points apiece. And Cameron Sheffield played a couple of minutes in that game. So a lot of Blue Devils have familiarity. On the opposite side, several of Army starters played in that game. They didn't start last year, but they're starting this year. Jordan Everson didn't score, but he played. Tate Laskowski scored. I definitely butchered that one. He had 3 points in that one. Jason Holloway, who's a guy who I've got key as a guy we've got to pay attention to on Army, had a couple points. Kevin McCarthy didn't score but played, and Ryan Curry had 3 points. So you add it all up, 8 points in last year's game for the returners from Army, and for Duke, 24 points. So I think we're off to a good start. We're off to a good start there.
I think that obviously the challenge for the academies, whether it's the Naval Academy, the West Point, Air Corps, will there ever be a David Robinson? Will there be the Admiral? Great nickname, carries his team deep into the tournament and March Madness, but it's a rarity that you're going to have a player of that caliber go to the academies.
Yes. And if I remember correctly, we had a player go to the Army after Duke, which was Marshall Plumlee, who was part of the program. And if I remember correctly, there's a height limit, and they had to make an exception for him. And I'm sure that's probably the case with the Admiral. Do I think we're ever going to see somebody like David Robinson again? Absolutely not. It's just the incentive to play there. If you're that big and skilled and talented, you can go make several $1,000,000 going to play at some other school. Um, so I just think that's not good. It's not bad. It's just where we are today.
It was his motivation. The guy wanted to go to the Naval Academy and be there, and probably do a little more research to remember that for a different show. But so, Jack, what do you think about Army's team? What's their best? Who's going to lead them in their effort to try to compete with Duke?
Yeah, really, really quickly, I want to give because you brought up the Admiral there. I want to give a little shout out to his son, Justin Robinson, who is an assistant coach with the Lakers. I saw him in a recent practice video. They had him in practice, guarding the opposing centers, trying to make things, give him a challenge. So, quick shout out to J. Rob, who's doing his thing as an assistant coach in the NBA.
And if we're going to pause for a moment, let's remember to tell people to subscribe to our podcast. If you like the content that we're delivering, we certainly work hard on it. Please like us if you like each episode. That helps us grow. And continue to enjoy dealing with the Devils. And actually, Jack, it's Monday.
Yes, so later on today we'll have our college basketball weekly show out. We'll go over the movements in the AP poll, the big games of last week, and then we'll look ahead to the big games of this coming week. So for Army, now I'm going. They're going to be hungry. First of all, they lost their last game to St. Thomas, so they're 1-1 coming into this one. Their last game, they've had two different starting lineups. We're going to go off their last game where they started Ryan Curry, who's 6 foot, Kevin McCarthy, who's 6'4", Jason Holloway, who's 6'4", 225, and I'm going to come back to that one in a little bit. Tate Leskowski, I think I said differently this time. It's not any better. Who's 6'8", listed at 205. I'm not sure if these weights are accurate. And Jordan Everson, who's also 6'8". And then off the bench, they have this guard, Jackson Furman, who's had a really hot start to the season. Only 16 minutes, but he's averaging 16 points. And he's shooting 54% from three on 6.5 attempts. So that's a guy we definitely have to pay attention to on this Army team. In addition to, I mentioned Holloway. What's interesting to me, he's 225. None of certainly the starting wings, they're skinny guys, Evans and Sarr. So I'm curious if Holloway will be able to kind of create some separation using his physicality against them. And that's something I'm going to pay attention to in this game. And then as we move forward against other, better competition, how do we stack up against some of these stronger wings? Because our wings are Evans and Sarr are not 200 pounds, either one of them. And so I think that's going to be something maybe Sarr is 200 pounds, but you get my point. They're slender builds. So how they
Sarr's listed at 190.
190, right? So I just think that's something to pay attention to in this game. The bigs, they're 6'8" apiece. There's not a real shot blocking threat on this team. They can generate steals. McCarthy is averaging 2 steals a game. Polk is at 1.5. So most of that was in his start, but still a guy to pay attention to on that end of the court. But ultimately, this is another opportunity for Duke to continue to grow, try out different lineups, and see what works and what doesn't. And now, after the last game, we know we're really working with 9 guys.
And Sebastian Wilkins is redshirting, so we won't see him. But look, a couple of things. One, the 3-point shooting, which as a team for the game appeared so off, actually was very interesting. It was really bad in the first half of the game against Western Carolina. But in the second half, they shot 50% from three. And it'll be interesting to see, can they even that out, get closer to 40% for the game in both halves so that it's an effective weapon in both halves as opposed to we're just shooting from three.
Right. And I think, Shire mentioned it post game. It's about the type of threes that we're shooting. He felt like in the first half, a lot of settling for threes. And I think some of the 3-point shooting is going to come with time. We know Shire, he focuses on defense, which we're going to talk about today. But the offense tends to come as the season goes on. I expect that to be the case, but it's funny. We mentioned this in the post game. Not just myself, there are other people who are critical of the offense and the game in which they scored 95 points. So but you go back to the Texas game, and there were stretches of what you got
for early water.
That's water. Yeah, that's what I thought. Open water. Interesting. Oh, maybe they'll sponsor us. Hey, Open Water. The emails are open.
Shout out.
All right. Where was I going? So the shooting, the 3-point shooting. Maybe they can shoot and it will be like water. The nets will be wet. But I think it's going to come with time. I think it will come with familiarity. And I do think there are some, small sample size, extremely small sample size, but there are some things I've noticed from looking at the different lineups that are interesting. But there's really only one lineup that Duke's played enough to have any sort of concrete data to pull from it. You know what that lineup is?
I'm going to guess Cameron Bruiser, Gangba.
Yep.
Well, starting Caleb Foster, and at the other guard, it would be Slim.
Yep. And your fifth player?
That's interesting. Who has had the most minutes at the 5 spot?
No. This would be at the
3 spot, or whatever. But it would be
fifth starter. I get where you're
fifth starter, but it would be maybe Humenya.
Don't overthink this. Who started the games?
Let's just go on.
Dame Sarr. And so the 5 starters, they've played by far the most minutes of any 5-man lineup. They've played 23 minutes together. The next closest lineups are 5 minutes. Okay? And so I think there's some things we can pull from that. Number one, their net rating is just under plus 50, which is good for the 78th percentile. So pretty good. Now, that is in large part because the defensive rating of that 5-man group is absolutely ridiculous. It is 49.8.
Small sample size.
Small sample size, but also, early on in the season, they've played 23 minutes. That's 38 possessions. It's good for 96th percentile. Really good, right?
Right.
Here's the problem. Offensive rating, 99.5. So just under a point per possession there. That's the 32nd percentile. So their net rating, being as good as it is all on the defense. And that passes the eye test because the opening of the Texas game, the opening of the Western Carolina game, extremely slow starts offensively.
I mean, the Carolina game, they 6 points in 11 minutes.
It was, yeah, it was. Let me check my notes. They were only up. They only scored 6 points 4 minutes into the game. They started off. They didn't score for the first couple minutes. That was the same thing with the Texas game. They didn't score till the 16-minute, 30-second mark. So I think Jon Scheyer is really loving the defense because it can't really get any better than what they're doing. But he's probably wants to see if the offense is going to get better.
Well, and if you're going to play defense at an elite level, it gives your offense the opportunity to come around because you won't dig yourself into a big hole if you can continue to play defense like this.
Right. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I was curious, what does that look like when Caden Boozer is in instead of Foster? Now, we put the emphasis on small sample size for the last one. This is an extremely small sample size, so don't take this too far. The last one was in 23 minutes. This is only 4 minutes, so let's don't go too crazy with this one. With that being said, the net rating of the 5-man lineup with Caden Boozer in instead of Foster is 122, which is more than double the net rating of the other one. It's the 100th percentile. The defense is still really good. It's not as good. It's 61, which is the 99th percentile. And the offensive rating is just absolutely insane. It's 183, which is just off the charts. Now, don't read into this too much. That's a 4-minute sample, but I'm curious if they play more minutes and this turns into a 12, 15-minute sample and the numbers are drastically different with the offense and the defense isn't much worse with Caden instead of Caleb. Will Caden start to play more minutes? Not necessarily taking away from Foster, but maybe they play a little bit more together. It's the offense. So I'm curious the Army data, Indiana State, he'll get a few more games in before the Kansas game next week.
Well, I think that's exactly right. That we get to have one more game like this. There are some others in the schedule before we play Kansas. And that's another opportunity to say, have we grown through Western Carolina? Have we grown through Army? Army, unless something strange happens, should be at least a 20-point plus win. And it'll be a great opportunity for Coach Scheyer to continue to fine tune. I know one of the things he's hoping is Dame Sarr will, how did he put it? He says he's very hard on himself. And, it would be nice to see him have a breakout game before the Kansas game. So that's one of my keys is does Sarr sort of loosen up, play a bit more, play the offense we think he's going to play or capable of playing, and can he do it before the Kansas game? I'd like to see that happen in the Army game tomorrow night, which we're going to see live.
That's right. We'll be there. Anybody who's going to be at the game, drop a comment. Let us know, how to reach you. We'd love to meet you at the game. And I had the same thing. One of the 5 things I was looking at in this game was Dame Sarr specifically finishing. Can he finish better in these transition opportunities?
He can't finish worse.
Right. So can he, take a step forward? Because
just hit the layup.
Well, he tried the layup the last game. That didn't work. So it's going to come. It's going to happen for Dame. There's no questions about his defense, which is suffocating. So just the finishing. What's your second key?
Second key for me is, again, it was so enjoyable to put the stats together of Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer. And will we see that again? Will there be a really nice combination? That kind of production out of your point guards is phenomenal. And, Army is a good game where they are capable of doing, they're not worrying, they're not being as pressed, as difficult as Kansas will present itself. So it'd be nice to get another game under the belt where they both perform well.
Yep, agreed. I wrote down for Caden, his defense and the shooting. Can he? I thought he played pretty good defense last game against Western Carolina. Can you pick up where he left off there? Continue to knock down open shots. And for Foster, decision making. Can he continue to make good decisions? I think he's at one and a half games now where he's had really solid decision making. Can he continue to build off of that?
My third key, just to finish off my three keys to the game, is this is going to be tough because with Kansas looming, it may not be the opportunity that I want, which is if we have a big lead, Jack Scott, Iffy, Cameron Sheffield, they came in the Western Carolina game at the 3:59 mark, and they'll probably come in again at that mark, but again, want to know what else we have should we get into foul trouble. And, I think the first half was actually more so. Coach Shire said first half, there were some fouls that, were problematic. I guess he was looking at Boozer, maybe with his 2 fouls. Foster finished with 4 fouls. It's more so in the front court. So I'd like to know that we have an opportunity for a good 5 minutes if we should need it from the bench players, especially now with Sebastian redshirt.
Yeah, and I guess to even specify your point further, you're calling for Iffy. You want Iffy.
I want Iffy. 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 We've got to find out if he can give us in the clutch 5 minutes of neutral time. I mean, if it's 5 minutes of like he's scoring and all that, that's great. But 5 minutes where he's on the court to spell someone who's in foul trouble, it's Iffy in particular. And as you say, to put a fine point on it, it's Iffy.
Yeah. So I had two more things I'd written down coming into this game. One which tails really nicely off what you just finished with. Fouls. Can Gangba have another clean first half where he gets to the end of the first half with one or fewer fouls? That ultimately takes away the need for Iffy, but it's for the betterment of the team. And then more lineups. I want more lineups. So far, obviously, there's a lot of very small sample sizes, but in the 2 games, they've gotten to 37 5-man lineup configurations, which I think is quite a lot. And I'm curious if I don't know if they can really push that number higher, but now they can start to kind of let some lineups play for longer stretches so they can get some data from them and see what's working, what's not working. Like if you looked at the lineup data and the on and offs right now, like Hamenia is like the worst net rating guy. But if you watch the games, there's no way you'd come away thinking that. And a lot of that is because the net rating when Dame Sarr's in the game defensively is like absolutely insane. So when Hamenia comes in and they play at like an average defense, it hurts his numbers because of how great the defense is when Sarr's in. There's nothing to do with Hamenia's play.
Coach K had it. Sorry. Oh boy, that's it. Coach Shire had a good point about and a good term for it, which we were talking about, and I keep using so many words. He calls it first to the floor. And the idea that you scramble and you're the first one to get, a 50-50 ball, let's say. Love to see more of that. And certainly we know that Humenya is so aggressive out there that it's almost surprising that Dame Sar has a higher defensive rating than when Humenyu's on the court. But no problem for me when Humenyu's out there doing his thing.
Right. Yeah, same. And it's, like another guy, Malik Brown. Our defense right now, again, small sample size, don't go crazy with these, is worse when Malik Brown's on the court. Nobody in their right mind would think Duke has a worse defense with Malik Brown out there. But I think some of it is the positioning and size of Gangba. And then also like Sar, he just doesn't allow the opposing player to even get off a shot a lot of times. And so it just prevents our team from getting into an offensive flow. But I'm just curious, as we, keep going, do these numbers change? I think they will change. And then how, what lineup configurations look better statistically, and I think that's when we'll start to see Scheyer really fine tune, because right now he's certainly experimenting. He's trying out different combinations. Like Darren Harris is a guy, when he was talking about first to the floor in both games, Darren Harris has had a moment where he's beat the other player diving for the ball. I think his play has earned him more minutes, but on this team it's kind of hard to get more minutes. There's 9 guys and all of them deserve it. So I'm curious how his minutes will go in this game and then as the year goes on.
And if you're looking for an odd stat, I wonder how much time when Boozer is on the court, he is percentage-wise in the paint versus out of the paint. Because he likes to shoot his 3. We know he is a very good point forward looking for the pass. And if you don't have your 6'10", 250 bruiser underneath the basket, what does that in turn do for rebounding? It hasn't presented itself as a problem, an issue or anything, but kind of curious which way it's better for Duke. If Cameron's hitting his 3-pointer, don't need him underneath the basket. If he's missing it and he's not underneath, and that huge physical presence is not there. So again, not wanting to really look ahead to the Kansas game, but that is something that I'm curious about.
Well, to that point, one of the things Scheyer was not happy about, even though Western Carolina scored less than 60 points and the defense was great, was the offensive rebounding, which is the opposite of what you're talking about for Western Carolina and Texas. So the opposite end of the court. And in the 2 games, we have allowed, on average, 15 offensive rebounds to the opposition, which is not good. It's not a good number. So that's something I'm sure he wants to clean up in this game against Army. On your point with, I went and looked as you were talking, see how we were offensive rebounding. In the Texas game, we only had 8. In the Western Carolina game, it was better. We had 13. And Cameron had 5 of those 13. So,
well, remember one thing about offensive rebounding is if your shooting percentage goes up, then the number of opportunities for an offensive rebound naturally goes down. So it gets a little complicated. If you're winning by a lot and you're scoring a lot, how many opportunities are there for offensive rebounds? That's all.
Well, fair, but we had more offensive rebounds in the Western Carolina game where we scored more points than we did against Texas. Now, obviously, Texas has a much bigger and physical front line. But that was a lot of the reason why that game was as close as it was. In total, we were out rebounded by 6, but it was 17-8 in offensive rebounds. And so, unfortunately, like even the Kansas game is not going to tell me much about the rebounding because I'm skipping way ahead. But that's not a very big team. So I think what we have to do in the interim is dominate some of these other teams on the glass. And I think that would give us confidence moving through as we play some of these bigger and more physical teams.
Well, as long as you brought up the Kansas game, given their star player being a guard, the question is, does he move the players further up to go along, making certain that they're picking up the guards above the free throw line and not allowing them to have any penetration, especially when there is not a lot of big guys to lob it to, so that the whole defense could be shifting a foot or two away from the basket.
I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'll save them for a week from now. Um, any final thoughts here on the Army game?
Just that while we were talking, I think that the score the score is going to be 86-60. We're going to win by 26 points. And I don't think we break 90 because we just won't do it. Partially, I think that's just, we're not going up there to put a beat down on Army. We want to learn things about ourselves. And I'm not saying we're going to take our foot off the gas. 86-60 is a good score. I think the defense is going to be the thing to watch in the Army game. That, in fact, they're going to play elite defense, but offense. 26 points, 86-60. That's my score.
Okay, I was close, but I mine's expanded. So I think we do score 90. I have us at 91, and I have Army at 56. And I know I heard what you said. We're not going up there to put a beat down on Army, but we're also not going up there, and we're gonna play Iffy, Jack Scott, Cameron Sheffield. Starting at the 8 minute mark. They won't come in until the 4 minute mark because of what you said. Shire's trying to develop these guys for the Kansas game, Florida, Arkansas. You guys know the schedule, the gauntlet that's upcoming. So I think he's going to leave in the rotation players until the 4 minute mark. And the guys coming off the bench, they are trying to earn more minutes. And so I don't see any part of them relenting in this game. And I think the defense has already shown to be at an elite level, and I think that will propel the offense to 91 points.
So we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night, because at the tail of the game, we're going to wonder, are they going to surpass 90 points on offense, or will they hold them to below 60 on defense? So we'll be there to the end. We hope if you're there, you'll let us know. And of course, subscribe. 19 to go, Jack. And then we hit we're almost at the 2,000 mark. So, and by the way, even though they aren't our sponsor, I really do like Open Water.
Open Water. Hit the inbox. You guys get the message. If you're watching, you know somebody there, tell them to reach out to us. And the only other thing I want to add, the post-game show will be later than normal Tuesday night, because we're going to have to come back from the game. So just be a little bit patient with us. Realistically, what would you say, like an hour 10 minutes, hour 15 minutes after the game is over.
And we'll be straggling out, so probably at least we won't be on the air till after 10:30.
Yeah, I was thinking around then, 10:30. Well, game will be over at 9. Well, whatever. We'll see you guys at the post game. For those of you who want to stay up late on Tuesday night, for everyone else, you can catch it the next day. It'll still be up on YouTube. So hope to see you guys then. Hope to keep building this program. Until next time, guys. Peace.